Albert Breer, Monday Morning Quarterback, joining us live. So as we talk about this, there are rumors about the Raiders moving up to get Anthony Richardson. And I just made the point that they're a very strange team. They're the opposite of the Colts, where they actually, the 4 or 5 key positions, weapon, edge rush, left tackle, outside of corner, they really check all the box. Offensive coach, quarterback who's won playoff games. They need a corner and probably their quarterback for the future. I get the Raiders moving up, right? Like, I get this. And by the way, most of their stars are young. Colton Miller's pretty young. Max Crosby's young. Josh Jacobs is fairly young. Devontae Adams still has 4 or 5 peak years to go. What do you make about the Raider rumors moving up?
I think the Raiders are going into this with a very open mind. And I think this is going to boil down to how Josh McDaniel sees the quarterbacks. And I think I've, used this comparison. I probably worn it out with you, Colin, but it's Alex Smith in Kansas City is the way they saw Derek Carr last year. It's the way they see Jimmy Garoppolo this year. And so until they have a quarterback of the future, they're going to take a hard look at every quarterback in the draft. And one thing that adds to that this year is they happen to be in the top 10. So there's a good chance one of these guys falls right into their lap. And if they really fall in love with him, they could move up for him. So that's why they went through all the paces with C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young and Will Levis and Anthony Richardson too. And the nice thing about the spot that they're in is that they're going to have a chance, if they want, to give the young quarterback a developmental year because they've got a starting quarterback that they like and that they know really well in Jimmy Garoppolo. So if you're in the camp that Anthony Richardson needs a year or two to sit and learn, well, then Vegas would be one of those spots that's ideal for him because there'd be no push to get him out there on the field because they have Jimmy. And, again, that's another area where you could bring that Alex Smith and Kansas City comparison, and that having Alex Smith allowed the Chiefs to sit Patrick Mahomes for a year as well.
I got to ask you about Aaron Rodgers. I know the audience is sort of numb to it, but you could argue who has leverage now. The Packers would like to get a draft pick for this draft. The Jets would also like Aaron to get in camp, the playbook, kind of get the momentum going, merchandise sales, everything. What is your best guess on Aaron drafts 3 weeks out now? What's your best guess?
I think, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen the day of the draft. I think they're close enough now. I think they're in striking distance. And look, sometimes it takes deadlines for these things to get done. But, we've gotten past the point where the feelings were still raw. And I think that it probably took a good week for everybody to move past, Aaron Rodgers' comments on McAfee. I think the Packers have moved a little bit. The Jets have moved a little bit. And I think relationships are really, really important here. The two head coaches here, Robert Saleh and Matt LaFleur, are legitimately best friends. The two general managers, Brian Gutekunst and Joe Douglas, spent years together on the road. And the two guys in charge, Woody Johnson in New York and Mark Murphy in Green Bay, were both a part of the Brett Favre deal 15 years ago. So you've got a lot of relationships here. I know that they made some progress at the league meeting. It's going to take sign off from every level of each organization. So you have to go through the process there. But I think this absolutely gets done before the draft. And I think it could get done before the Jets and Packers open their offseason programs 2 weeks from today. So I think the negotiation right now is in a good place. And I do think because of the relationships there, that there's been good progress towards getting something done. And I think at any point between now and the draft, it could happen.
Listen, the big topic on Lamar is the Colts now, right? Like that would be the challenger. And I can see Robert Irsay, because they had that Suck for Luck campaign. I could see Irsay saying, if we can't get Bryce Young, who we already commented on, none of these guys are game changers. Let's just wait. Let a Raiders or somebody else move up. We still have to get a left tackle, a corner, another weapon. There's parts of their roster I do like. I can see Indy saying, in the AFC, if you look ahead, you've got to have a difference maker. We don't think Will Levis is a difference maker. Let's get Caleb Williams or Drake May. Do you think it's possible that Indy actually doesn't get Lamar nor a quarterback and moves back to get a boatload of picks?
There are a lot of moving parts here. One thing I can tell you definitively is what happened when the Bears called them. And they were one of the 4 teams that the Bears were dealing with, ahead of making that trade with the Panthers to move down from 1 to 9. And really the response that Indianapolis gave the Bears was, we're not really there yet on any of the quarterbacks. And if they weren't there yet on the quarterbacks, then that tells you they weren't sold on one being worth the first overall pick. And if one's not worth the first overall pick, maybe they're a little iffy on one's worth the fourth overall pick. Now, they're going to work all those guys out this week. All four of them have workout scheduled with the Colts. They'll probably bring at least a couple of them into their building on 30 visits. So, they're going to see, but I still think there needs to be some convincing on the part of those quarterbacks that they're of that level for Chris Ballard to take the plunge on one of them. And it could happen, but it also might not. And if it doesn't happen, well, then, you move past the draft. And now, if you're talking about signing Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet, it's not the fourth overall pick anymore. It's first round picks in 2024 and 2025. So you could wind up with Will Anderson, let's say, and Lamar Jackson, and give up picks that maybe you think are going to be in the 20s down the line. The risk there, of course, is that the Ravens just match your offer sheet and now you're without a quarterback. But look, I think, if you look at Chris Ballard's history, he's been very methodical about this. He hasn't overreached on a quarterback outside of maybe the Carson Wentz thing since losing Andrew Luck in such stunning fashion. And I think it'd be his instinct not to overreach on a quarterback now. The one caveat being that pressure from ownership could wind up forcing something. We'll see if that happens.
Okay, we got about 45 seconds left. I want to ask you about C.J. Stroud. You went to Ohio State. Yep. You know the Buckeyes. You watch every second. If I said I know what he's good at. Is there any apprehension for you as somebody who watched every snap of C.J. Stroud? I said, Albert, did you trust him in big games? Did he have the alpha?
Yeah.
What is the nut? Because I heard that early, that he wasn't a big alpha early at Ohio State. He certainly developed that. Is there a criticism about him?
Yeah, the weird thing is, there very much has been criticism of him. Does he turn down runs? In their zone read game, does he turn down runs? Is he creative enough? Is he good off schedule? All of those were legitimate questions going into the national semifinal. And then against Georgia, he answered all of them. It was a different player against Georgia. And if you look at, his body of work over 2 years, you had C.J. Stroud pre-Georgia and then C.J. Stroud in the Georgia game.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge here for teams is they look at it and they say, that guy in the Georgia game has superstar potential. But was that a flash, or is that what he's really becoming now?
Yeah.
Was he protecting himself earlier in the year? I mean, there are all kinds of questions that stem from that. But I think in that Georgia game, you saw the high-end potential of C.J. Stroud and who he can be. He's a really good kid. And now, I think for teams, the question is going to be is what you saw on New Year's Eve, is that sustainable? Is that who C.J. Stroud is in the process of becoming? And if that's who he's in the process of becoming, then he's absolutely worth a first or second pick.
Monday morning quarterback Albert Breer. Good seeing you, man, on Monday. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.